guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. I'm just getting started out on this YouTube thing, so excuse the sudden low talking, for one. I've had to retake this video a few times. I've gotten all the way through, went back and listened to it. I was like, I can barely hear myself, which means the audience probably will not be able to hear me. So, excuse that, and excuse the crappy video quality. I am doing this on my iPhone until I know that this will become something serious. Then I will go shopping for a camera. But, onto the video. If you haven't seen my past videos, I recommend you go down. If you just want a summary of them, I basically did a video on how to use a fetal Doppler at 12 weeks. Pretty sure it was 12 weeks. And I also did a introduction of pregnant at 19. That is, it was a very short video. It didn't explain much. So I am slowly walking into my second trimester. This video will focus on my symptoms and what I used throughout the first trimester, what helped me with the nausea. I didn't get much of that, but we'll get more into that later on in the video. And it will also be how I recovered from my, I don't want to say recovered, but how I got through this pregnancy after having a previous miscarriage, because I know for some it can be pretty difficult, and I am one of those people. So, let's get into it. I just went today and got my 13-week scan, so I do have those ultrasound pictures right here, and I will show them to you after we go over the products and everything else. So, let's get straight into it. The first thing, which I used, but I didn't start using until later on into the pregnancy, I already have stretch marks before I got pregnant. So, I didn't really care about them, but for those who do, I highly recommend this one, just because it doesn't, as far as I know, I don't have any new stretch marks, so that's something, because I've grown a lot, I'm pretty sure. Not 100%, but I mean, I feel like I've grown a lot, so. But it's just the cocoa butter formula Palmer's for stretch marks. It specializes in that. I have one upstairs. It's just body butter. I use that one a lot as well. It smells better and it's a little more thin. But the only complaint I have with that about that one is it's sticky. So it's like I try to keep my shirt up after a while. When I do that one, I do it at night so then I can walk around a bit and then go to bed. The next thing, like I said before, I did not get much morning sickness at all. I got about a week of really bad nausea, and when I first found out, I wanted to believe that I had really bad nausea, which it wasn't that serious. When I first found out, it was a little worse throughout my pregnancy, but just about 1 week of it, and that's it. I had it little bits here and there. After that, I still have it. It's on and off though, and it's not as common. But I did have it really bad for 1 week. I think it was around 7 or 8 weeks, and I'm 13 weeks now, so that's a bit after words. But for that, I used the bracelets. I don't know what they're called. They're like motion sickness bracelets. For me, that helped a lot because I got nauseous mostly when I was in the car, just because it helped. I always got nauseous in the car, so you could probably figure it was especially worse when I'm pregnant. I usually just get sick when I'm in the passenger seat, but now I get sick even when I'm driving. It doesn't matter. I do not like the car anymore. So, for that, I used these. I highly recommend them. I know a lot of people don't like ginger, but these do not taste like ginger. They taste more like lemon. So, they're good because they have the ginger and then they have the lemon taste that blocks out the disgusting ginger taste. Next is a pretty common one. I'm sure everybody's seen them. Preg Pops. I used this for my first pregnancy as well because I did have some semi-bad morning sickness in that, but I only got to about 4 weeks. It didn't last long, but these taste really good. They're like candy. I eat them just because now because I don't get morning sickness anymore. Next, this will lead me onto my how I recovered. Again, not recovered. How I got through this pregnancy after a previous miscarriage. This right here, my last video was about this, so if you want to see how to use it, just go down into the next video. It was the last one I did. And it will just show you some few tips on how I learned to do this. Could not get the heartbeat until like 11 weeks in some days. Some say you could get it earlier. Maybe you can. Guess it depends on where the baby's located and if the baby is active. Mine is really active. She is extremely active. But highly recommend this. Some doctors don't recommend it, and it's not because it's dangerous. It's just more so because you could think something's the heartbeat and then it's not. And it will just, if you don't find the heartbeat, then you freak out. But I didn't have a worry about freaking out because I heard a lot of people say before I didn't find it until this amount. So I was lucky to even find it at 11 weeks. Most don't find it until after 12. Now I can find it pretty easily. I'm 13 weeks. She's up into my belly now. So it's easier to find and stronger. At 11 weeks it was very in and out and like could barely hear it, honestly. But that was a lifesaver. I got it at around 11 weeks, so that was later on in the pregnancy. But if you order it sooner, then it will help a ton. Now, going into how I dealt with this pregnancy, I still struggle even now, even though the chances are like under 1%. They're not that high, and if something was wrong, they probably would have seen something, seen as though we just did the NT scan and everything was perfect. So let's go first onto the feelings. The first initial feeling I felt when I found out I was pregnant was happiness, but it soon went into terrified. I wasn't terrified of having a baby, I was terrified of having another miscarriage, which if you're trying to have a kid, then that's the most common feeling, is more terrified of losing the baby than actually having the baby. That's the good part. But because I'm into research and into knowing everything, it just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. I asked the doctors all kinds of questions, and I looked up everything I could, probably looked at every single website there was on miscarriages and the percentages. Now I'm not so crazy about it because all of them say it will most likely happen before 12 weeks. Well, I just went to the ultrasound, I'm 13 weeks, and the baby's still active and alive. So, that's good. The next major feeling I had, which I still have, I don't want to admit to anybody, but I do still have it. I could not get excited at all. Even now I'm like, it's in and out. Sometimes I feel excited, and sometimes I'm like, no, I do not want to get excited. I mean, I have a ton of stuff ready for the baby, but I did not really buy any of it. I went shopping, and I pretended like I was excited, but I was terrified. Every time I bought something, I was like, oh, this is just another thing I'm going to have to resell if I have a miscarriage. I know, terrible thinking, but for those who have had a miscarriage, I'm probably not alone in this. So it doesn't really affect me as much. I just kept thinking, oh, it's normal, it will pass, and it has most of the way passed. But I still have off days where I'm like, oh, something could still happen. But somebody told me, and I didn't understand it earlier in pregnancy as to why they would tell me this, but now that I'm later on, I do understand it. Anything can go wrong at any time in the pregnancy. Now, my first initial thought was, why would somebody tell me this when I'm already scared of having a miscarriage or something go wrong with the baby? Well, the main reason I'm guessing they told me was because you might as well enjoy it while you can. Don't live the entire pregnancy thinking, oh, I was terrified throughout the whole thing. I could not enjoy it at all. So I try to push my feelings aside and let the excited in a little bit more, have stuff ready, and the crib is already bought. I know, really early, but it was hand-me-down from a friend. So I got it earlier. Last time I did buy it, and I was only about 4 weeks, but the baby stopped growing at 4 weeks, and I didn't even find out until about 8 weeks. So technically, it was still early, but it wasn't as early as it may have seemed. But then I had to figure out how to resell it, and I also bought the stroller because everything was on clearance. That's when Babies R Us was going out of like business everywhere. So I bought a bunch of stuff, and then I had to figure out how to resell it and get it out of the house. I didn't have to look at it. It was pretty horrifying. So this time I waited until I heard the heartbeat and everything was good, and then I started buying a few clothes here and there, and then I waited to buy bigger things. My birthday came up and I got a bunch of, I don't want to say bigger things because I don't have a ton of big things. I have the bathtub. Oh, excuse me. I have the bathtub and I have the little side bed thing that she'll be sleeping in while she's a newborn when she first comes home. But back to the initial thing, because that's what we're all here for, right? How I got through it. I have a paper here. I swear I'm not just looking wherever. I really tried to get through it. I really did. But there's nothing that can help unless you really try to help yourself. People kept saying the stress is going to affect the baby in a bad way. You better calm down. And I tried. But the thought of me stressing out could cause harm to the baby. Made me stress out even more. So that didn't help me much. But the first thing I showed it before was my heart Doppler. Again, I didn't get it till later, so it helped later on, but before I just kept thinking, okay, once I get this, everything will be better, because I bought it when I was really early on, just because I knew it would take a while to get here. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I saw this little piece of paper, somebody posted it, and it was after their miscarriage, and they had another pregnancy, and they found out. The paper just said, this is a different pregnancy with a different ending, and that kept me going as well. I screenshotted the picture, and I taped it everywhere, because it did really help, just thinking that way, like, this is a different baby, different pregnancy, with a different ending, and it sure is. I mean, I've gotten to 13 weeks. I feel pretty confident that this baby's going to last. Thank God. Knock on wood, because we don't want anything to happen. The next thing is each week to me was a milestone. I know for some people, each trimester or each month is a milestone. But for me, each week is a huge success because the percentage goes down. Even if it's just a little bit, it still goes down. And that really helped me get through. The next thing is I have a very active baby. I cannot say this enough. Everybody who has seen her has said, you have a very active baby. So, obviously, if something was wrong, she would not be active, because I read something before, again, that a sick baby is basically what a miscarriage is. The baby isn't developing as it should, so it's not at great health. If you had a baby that was not at great health, she would not be moving very much at all, because she doesn't feel good, which really helped me, because, I mean, it's bad that I have an active baby, but it's good, because in that case it means she's good, she's healthy, and she's in there. So, next, symptoms. Throughout my pregnancy, I did not get many, and that didn't help me much with the whole miscarriage thing. just because I kept thinking if I don't have enough symptoms, then I'm probably going to end up having a miscarriage, because that just is how it works. Because most pregnancies, you get a ton of symptoms. I did not. I did not get much at all. I got fatigue later on, when I was about 9 weeks, 9 to 10. Not sure exactly on the dates. And I got some morning sickness, like I said, in that week. But that's it. That's like pretty much all I got. I did not have any soreness in my boob area. And, well, I had it to begin with, and then it went away about 5 weeks. And you could know for hell, I was nervous when that happened. I was not expecting that. I thought it would stay throughout the whole thing, but it did not. So, after that, I was, again, later on, everything came for me about 8 to 9 weeks, or 9 to 10, somewhere around that, 8 to 10 weeks. But I was moody, I was hungry all the time. That's it. Like, I literally did not have anything. No symptoms at all. Thankfully. Now I say thankfully. But before I was, again, I just have some morning sickness just to know everything's fine. If it progresses, then it's good. Because a non-viable pregnancy wouldn't be giving me symptoms. Although, I was just kidding myself, because even non-viable pregnancies, you will still get some symptoms. But last two things, my ultrasound is right here, so I will show you guys that. I got a whole sheet of them, but here's some. So, the umbilical cord, the face, the little nose and the mouth, and then the body. She has a very big stomach already. And then right here is just her face, so her nose, her mouth, and then her head, and that same thing down here. To me, these ones are the best ones. I framed my favorite up there, but you can see that's her leg, and then in this one, that little blur right here is her finger, well, her hand, always up at her mouth, always. And then you can see that's her second leg. She had them flinging up in the air. She was asleep when we went, so they shook her, and then she got mad. As for feeling any kicks in 13 weeks, I get this sharp jabbing pain in one spot, and it moves throughout my lower abdomen depending on when it is, but I'm not sure what that is, honestly. It could be kicks, it could be gas, it could be anything. I'm not sure. So, we'll find out. But, lastly, my butt. I do feel like I've grown a bit, like I said before, but there you go. I didn't know that I'm bigger at night, so that does help, because it's night here. It's about midnight. And that is it. So, if you like my channel, please subscribe to the bottom to continue watching my journey and my daughter's journey. And I will see you in my next video.